All right. Well, good afternoon. I see that we have community and staff members on today. So I just love to take a chance to say thank you to our staff members as well as our community. We feel a great sense of gratitude for your concern and love for our children, our young people in this community. And I can see how much every day, how much you dedicate to them. So it's a great chance to say thank you for that. As you know, um, we have had a surge of COVID running around this community. And although we have not had many students impacted, we have had staff impacted. Some of the impact to staff has been direct, where they have gotten exposed somehow and actually become ill with COVID. And some are in quarantine as a result of a primary exposure to the COVID virus. And as those numbers began to tick up this last weekend and early part of this week, our awesome administrators have been scrambling to find appropriate substitute coverage for the students that are coming to the schools, and that has been a challenge. In fact, at some points, it's challenged us to the tipping point, and I know that it has caused a struggle to make sure that classrooms are productive places. So as a result of the trickling in of numbers of staff needing to either be out because they're ill or be out because they're quarantined, we have had to be responsive and very thoughtful. Number one, we want those classrooms to be productive places, and number two, we need to be sure that our schools are safe places. So we made a really tough decision to go into comprehensive distance learning for beginning next Monday, December the 14th, and to be in comprehensive distance learning that week before our students would have generally been going on the Christmas break. So we are currently we are planning to go into CDL next week, and which is an acronym for comprehensive distance learning. And that is still on, and we will move into that comprehensive distance learning next week. And we're encouraging our people to stay isolated during that time, and to make sure that they're not getting exposed. And we also hope this is a time our community can just isolate and really bring the numbers down that we're experiencing in COVID activity in Crook County. And then I would also say that we are in what's classified by the state of Oregon as safe harbor. And I'm looking at you, Dr. Hoff. We're in separate rooms, as you can see, and I don't know if I missed an opportunity for Dr. Hoff to put up a chart or a slide.
I appreciate you always looking out for me to put up a chart. That's
Yes.
That's one thing I love to do. I believe we're wanting to show just the current status of kind of where we're at for
All right.
just so folks
Yes.
Can kind of see kind of the trend and why we believe it's important to kind of do a quick pause and hopefully try to pause the trend and reverse it. So let me put those numbers up for you real quick here.
Okay. I'm very grateful, honestly. I know we kid around a lot, but I'm very grateful for Dr. Hoff. He takes information that can be flying through the air, and he can grab a hold of it and pull it into a chart. And it does help us understand in some kind of a quantitative format what we're experiencing in the qualitative zone.
Dr. Johnson, can you see a little line graph in front of you?
So the line graph is in front of me, yes.
All right. So just so folks know, like we've talked about before, every Monday, the Oregon Health Authority and Oregon Department of Education release our biweekly total, and they take the total cases in Crook County for the past 2 weeks. They add them together and they give us a biweekly total. This process started back in October. So you can see the first time they did this, our case count was 36 for the biweekly total. And we, for the first 5-6 weeks, we were doing all right, because as long as you're in this yellow zone, that met all the models we currently had. The orange zone was like, hey, make sure you're collaborating with your local health department and looking at very specific things to whether you still should be able to stay in school. And then this red zone, that's when we really started to kind of take a look at things. We had to use what we called our safe harbor clause, which says, regardless of the metrics, if your schools are safe and you're not seeing transmission, then you can stay open. So the kind of big point here is this thing, we've essentially tripled since we started in terms of case count. So definitely looking at, for one, you can see the impact it's having on the community and why that's touched so many teachers and Crook County School District staff in one way, shape, or form. And then I think, Sarah, Dr. Johnson, now's when you were going to talk about Safe Harbor.
Okay, so what is Safe Harbor? Dr. Hoff talked a little bit about how we collaborate with the health department. And it's not just like we call them up and ask if they'd like to come over for coffee and we talk about how it's going with COVID. Our nurses every day track and monitor every report of a touch of COVID to the school system. So if it touches staff, the nurses are informed and they begin to contact trace. If it touches students, the nurses are informed and they begin to contact trace. And so what we do in the collaboration is we look at how a COVID exposure or a COVID positive test is interacting and intersecting with the school. And as you can imagine, when adults begin to, and we're in a small community, so adults get together, people are friends throughout this community. And so sometimes as friends get together, they get exposed to someone who is positive. And then that has shown even inside and outside of our community that people will either get sick or are a primary exposure and must be isolated so as not to spread it. And it seems, according to what we've seen in the research, that adult spread in social settings, it's happening. It's happening a lot. When kids get together, like we do in school, there seems to be not the same level of spread, especially little kids. And in our school, if a child is exposed to someone who is positive, then they are quarantined. And so we've had a few, very few, like I can count them on one hand, little children who have been exposed to a positive adult, or we've had some teens who have been exposed to a positive adult. And we've actually had some teens who have actually tested positive. Not many though, like again, I could count this on one hand. And I just wanted to make sure that I'm pointing out that in Safe Harbor, we're considering every single impact of a COVID sickness or exposure. And then we talk about how that intersects with the school. And then if it's still safe at school, the health department and the school district say we can stay open or we shouldn't stay open. So right now, operating in Safe Harbor, we are not seeing spreads inside of the school doors. And so we are continuing to stay open. Now, Safe Harbor ends January the 4th. That was a window that the state established, and we have fallen into that window. Now, as the state, the governor and her team consider what to do with schools moving forward, there has arisen a great urgency to get schools open. So therefore, as they began to look at school districts that are successfully keeping people safe and in Safe Harbor, they have been wondering if that's a direction to go. Should they keep those schools open that are operating in Safe Harbor if they're staying safe? So I just want to inform you that they are considering extending that Safe Harbor. And of course, there will be no reckless decisions, not in Crook County and hopefully not elsewhere, but we are hoping that they will extend that Safe Harbor because we believe, given our 13 weeks of grades 4 through 12 being in our school, our 13 weeks of grades K through 3 and our 11 weeks of grades 4 through 12 being in school, that we can stay in that Safe Harbor and determine if it's safe for our school to be open. That was a lot of talk. Did it make sense?
Dr. Johnson, let me just make sure I heard you right. So we're currently, so for next week, we're shifting to comprehensive distance learning, K through 12. And then right now, our Safe Harbor is set to expire on January 4th, but the governor and the ODE are at least reviewing whether Safe Harbor can be extended beyond January 4th. And we should be hearing that in the next week or two.
And of course, you know me, when I heard that it could be extended, because we believe we can keep our kids in school safely, I sent an email off to Colt Gill and said, hey, we want to be considered for the extension of Safe Harbor. I feel like they cracked the door and I went ahead and opened it.
Started knocking.
Yeah.
So parents should know that. So if parents are thinking, hey, we're going into winter break, when are we going to know what things look like? So we have set December 29th to make sure that parents, we will come out and say, here's what the next week looks like. So we will guarantee that we'll get the information out by then.
It doesn't give people a lot of time. That's 1 week. So if we get information earlier than that, we of course would want to let you know, but really what we have to do as a community and as a group of, as a staff is we need to get our COVID numbers down. And I believe we have a great opportunity to do that. I know that if we distance and if we wear masks, that it can make a difference. So I'm just saying, community, please, do this for the young people. Please wear the masks. If you could wear a mask and keep a kid in school, would you do it? And that's what we're asking people to do.
You know, I think we've both heard since, I think it was on Monday, we had to announce that we were shifting next week to comprehensive distance learning. We have heard, both you and I, from so many parents, so many community members on the importance that our schools play for their students. So for our community, we know, and that's why we have fought in the past and will continue to fight to keep schools open, because we know the burden it places. Some people don't know this. I've got, 2 kids in school right now? I got a 2nd grader and a kindergartner. So when my wife was mad at me, we were shifting to CDL. So I got yelled at a little there, but she went and told Lily, our 2nd grader, that we were having to shift and that this would be the last week. Lily starts crying. So she cried for a minute. So that was brutal. So we know it's a huge burden. We know it's tough on kids. When we went and told James, he just said, okay, like nothing happened and kept playing with his cars. But we know that it's a huge burden for kids, for families. So that's why we're definitely wanting to continue this fight to keep schools open if we can do it safely in collaboration with the health department.
And I think kind of going back to one of the things I said first today is we are just so grateful at how our community supports. When our community heard that it was a substitute shortage that was making the impact on Crook County, they put their heads together and said, can we help? And so even though that's a little bit more complicated than it looks on the surface, we are pushing into that zone to see what we can do. It is absolutely true that you cannot just take anyone who is willing to volunteer and put them in a school and have them substitute. That's not how it works. We are a public school, so there's very specific guidelines we follow to to get substitutes licensed. And I can see Dr. Hoff is really.
I've got something for you, Dr. Johnson.
Okay, go for it.
So our great tech department, our great HR department, they have made it really easy and spelled it out so that people that have those questions of, well, what would it take? We have put this on our website as of like 20 minutes ago. So let me show you. So if you are interested, if you've heard this, how would I become a sub? We have put if you go to the Crook County School District webpage, latest resources, substitute teacher process. And if you're interested, this document right here, you can download it, you can print it out. This spells out what you would have to do in order to become a licensed substitute teacher, if that's something you're interested in. And I think it's, it's almost really cool to think our community there, like, what do you guys need? You need subs? All right, I'll be a sub. It just kind of, I think, speaks to the spirit of Crook County where if there's a problem, people are like, we want to pitch in and help. So if that's you and that's something you're interested, there is a fairly comprehensive process that you have to go through. But if you're interested, we've put that on our website and you can check that out.
So we have had people calling to our human resources department today, and they, Sean Corrigan and his staff, they are putting together the documents and also the process. And we'll get back to those people that have called in and let you know what you need to do. He's also, Sean Corrigan has also reached out to our ESD, that is how we access subs and prepare subs. And he has talked with them about setting up a process where we can get a group of substitutes ready to help support in the schools. So that is in the works. And the way that you access that information is exactly how Dr. Hoff pointed out to you there. One of the things that has happened today, Dr. Hoff, and then I'm going to pass it to you, is that people have called and said, well, I could volunteer in the building. And now, Dr. Hoff, because you want to talk so much, I'm going to pass it back to you.
No, you left a cliffhanger. Volunteer. So what if someone wants to volunteer? I do have a safe harbor question that came through on Facebook that Stacy Smith said, make sure you answer that. So why don't you explain the volunteer status and how that would work and what we're currently under, and then I'll handle this safe harbor question.
All right. So right now, according to the blueprint that we put together to get open, we cannot bring volunteers into the building. And the reason that is the way it is because we cannot bring people that may have been exposed to COVID or could spread COVID into the building. We have to kind of tighten it down and make sure that the people who are in there have there's a screening process and that there's a really tight protection for our staff and for our students. So we can't have volunteers in right now. In the future, we invite you to come back and volunteer. We want you in our schools, but for now, you can't volunteer. But yes, if you have a bachelor's degree or higher, you can get through a process an emergency substitute license. And if you follow that process, which includes a background screening and a background check and a training, then you could qualify to come into our school building and substitute with students. And we are very careful about who and what we expose children to. So there's I just want to ensure that I'm saying today that there is a guideline and a process by which people become substitutes, and our HR office is shepherding that process to make sure that we have enough subs available and that the subs we have are people that we are legally responsible to and have been checked for safety to have them around our kids. Dr.
Are you ready for a safe harbor question?
Good.
All right. We got a question coming from one of the Facebook pages. Says, if we are in CDL, like we're shifting next week to CDL, at the time they extend safe harbor, are we still able to get it extended, our safe harbor extended? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
Good question, Jordan.
I think that what's confusing there, Dr. Hoff, is if, I think the key is if safe harbor is extended, we could go back into safe harbor. If it's not extended, the question's kind of moot because we would be in comprehensive distance learning because we have 98, last 2 weeks, we had 98 cases.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this a little bit yesterday at our metrics review team. The easiest way, most straightforward, simplest way to get kids back in school as soon as possible is just to bring our case count down. So that's like priority number one. If our county can bring our case count down to 45, that's like automatic in. So that's what we're really kind of banking on and hoping for. This safe harbor extension is kind of just something we know that's in the works at the state level that we're not as much in control of.
Okay, I think it's time for any questions, any more additional questions that may be out there, staff or community members, parents, anybody that's on our broadcast today. We'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have, or if you think there's a statement that we need to make to clarify the information, please help us understand.
So Dr. Johnson and Dr. Hoff, we might want to just sort of maybe walk through the process for like Chromebook distribution and just sort of what families can expect, because I've been seeing a lot of those, questions still coming up on Facebook and social media. I know the principals are obviously getting that information out, but might be a good opportunity to just kind of reiterate the process.
I'm passing that to you, Dr. Hoff.
It's like I know a little bit about that.
We may have to pass it over to a principal, and I know we have multiple on here.
Well, I know that elementaries are doing the same thing where they're starting to send, they didn't want to send like come Friday, they didn't want to send kids home with just a ton of stuff that they couldn't hold. So I believe the three big elementaries, Steenspiller, Barnesview, and Crooked River, they are starting to send stuff home today. Like they're sending music stuff home. They'll send home some other stuff tomorrow, and then computers go home on Friday. Did I get that right, Jim? I paid attention in meetings. So parents can expect to see stuff starting to come home today for our elementary students. For our middle school and high school students, I believe most of them already brought their Chromebooks home every day, so that won't be a change in practice. So elementary folks, I believe you can start seeing things. Marcus Hayes, the fantastic assistant principal from Crook County Middle School. Marcus, what did I miss about the middle school?
Not much. I mean, and the computers are being sent home. The idea that we had kids starting today, and then the Gold Day students cleaned out their lockers, kind of took stuff home that they might need for next week's distance learning. And so that we were working through that today as well this afternoon, and just kind of getting them set up.
One thing to add to that, if you're a parent and you haven't said thank you to a Crook County administrator lately, we've got really, really good people. There's a reason this year is going smooth, and it's because of our administrators, teachers, and classified staff. So, and if you haven't thanked an administrator, they're doing a lot of heavy lifting right now. So definitely reach out and let them know how much you appreciate them.
All right. We're trying to stay out here and keep the information flowing. We do have a staff fireside on Friday, so please spread the word, and we'll try to get more information out as it comes in, and we will quickly let you know the status of Safe Harbor if we get any new information on that.
So parents should expect to hear from us, Dr. Johnson. We'll do a fireside next Friday, our normal Friday.
The 18th, yes.
The 18th, and then we'll also come back December 29th with an additional message updating people on the status for after winter break.
Correct.
Am I missing any parent communication?
I think we have it. And then, of course, the amazing Jason Carr is sending out expanded information each day when it comes up. So
Yeah, and I
thank you,
will
Sheila
send
Clark, for that kind comment.
I will post on Facebook this afternoon, basically the information you guys covered with the link to the substitute process, which is on our website. So parents will be able to access that through social media as well.
So
Perfect.
Jim and Kimberly, there's a question. Do parents have to pick up the Chromebook, or will the children bring it home if they're riding the bus? Will the children bring it with them? I guess Taylor too.
They will take them home with them on the bus. We already cleared that with our technology department, and transportation is expecting that. But that's why the only thing going home on Friday is the Chrome. So kids can be a little bit more cautious and not have a bunch to take home.
Hey, and we have to say thanks, Facebook, for buying Chromebook cases. We have a lot of cases because of Facebook's donation.
Well, not only cases, computers and
Well, the
iPads.
Chromebooks too, but yes.
We are 1-to-1 in the district because of Facebook Prineville Data Center. And this whole thing, distance learning, would not look the same without Facebook. So
Oh man, yeah,
always have
super
to
grateful.
All right, I checked all the Facebook pages and I don't see any other questions at this time.
So, you know, our hearts are just going out to parents and staff, and we continue to just feel gratitude and thank you. We are here. If we can answer a question or give us a call, and we'll keep the information flowing through our regular communication channels, but let us know if you need something. And we wish you all the best. It's Wednesday and there's 2 more days this week, so we still have a lot of great work to do this week. Take care, everyone.